Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Liam's Library. I spent so long trying to set up my camera just now that I got myself really pissed off. Sorry for the language. I've set up my room way better. Not much to do during this corona crisis and this isolation. Then, fix things up around the home. So check me out. I've got my new study. Got my Super Nintendo. I've got my Apple TV. I've got my laptop all set up. Everything's choice. And so I thought I'd kick it off with reviewing a horror movie that wasn't Stephen King. And I never even heard of this movie. I'd never heard of it. I was just looking through Netflix and Stan and Disney, trying to find something to watch, something I hadn't seen, something that stops me from watching Jaws 1975 over and over and over again. And I found it, and I was really happy with it, right? It's called Mum and Dad. It's a movie written and directed by Brian Taylor, so I will be looking up my notes. So Mum and Dad, it's a horror comedy. It's very funny. It's starring Nicolas Cage and Selma Blair. It's also got Lance Henriksen in it, right? And I love Lance Henriksen. If we're talking horror, we might as well talk, Lance Henriksen. He's Pumpkinhead. This movie starts... I'm going to try to keep the spoilers to a minimum, but you know what I'm like, right? So I'm not going to give away the ending, but I'm going to give you the premise. I'm not just going to say, go watch it, it's a great movie. I'm going to tell you some shit. So this movie starts off with a woman looking at her baby in the backseat of a car and leaving it on train tracks and just walking away. And the train comes along, ding, 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 ding. Thank God you don't see it go bang. But it goes bang, and this woman is the baby's mother, and she does it on purpose. Now, this movie is about an event. Like them movies where there's an event, like Maximum Overdrive, where the the trucks start driving themselves and killing people, or like The Happening by Shyamalan, where nothing happens. No, I mean, I like that movie, I don't care, everybody hates it. Where the trees just start killing people over a certain period of time. This is like that, but over this certain period of time, all of a sudden, everybody's mum and dad try to kill their children. And it's Nicolas Cage, so you're in for a treat. Him and his wife have a son and a daughter, a teenage daughter and a younger son. And they got this funny Chinese housekeeper. And this movie, straight away it gets you, all right? It reminds me of... I'm going to try to look at my notes as least as possible. Like, I've filled up pages of shit. That's not what we're here for. We're not here for me to read off my notes. We're here to talk about Mum and Dad, this horror movie. Written and directed by Brian Taylor. Now, I didn't Google him. I don't know what else he's done. But it seems really art house, and like he didn't spend too much money on it. You know what I mean? So this might be a first film, or one of his first films. I don't know. It was successful. I really enjoyed it. So, Nicolas Cage is a good dad. You can see that. The movie's portraying that. And, he's chasing his kid around the house, and they're playing this game. You can tell they play this game all the time. And then, all of a sudden, the kid throws a bouncy ball to the back of Nicolas Cage's head, and he turns around like this. And he gives him this Nicolas Cage look. We've all seen it on a million movies. Crazy Nicolas Cage. Badass Nicolas Cage. But then he's like, haha, just kidding, kid. And you're like, oh, God, that was close, because if you read the synopsis, you know what you're in for. Anyway, the teenage daughter steals $100 out of the mum's purse, Selma Blair's purse. She goes to school. And, the commentary is really good, the social commentary, the way teachers are these days, the way kids are with their phones at school. It's very modern. It's very in touch with what is going on right now. So that's cool. That's cool. You feel like you're watching a movie in the now times. It's spot on, especially because the movie is kind of told from the point of view of everybody, but it's about mums and dads who are just wishing they were still kids again, and just having these weird flashbacks, not weird flashbacks, just flashbacks of when they were teenagers, when the whole world was in front of them, and their kids are now doing it, living that life. And they're fucking, they're begrudgingly hating that. They're like that. They wish they were kids again. But, no one's murdered anyone yet. But don't worry, it doesn't take long. Like I said, it starts off with the train tracks and the baby. So, alright, let's have a quick look. So Cage has this really cool flashback where he's doing donuts in this fucking car from the 70s while some chick's bouncing her tits in his face. And it's not Cage, it's some 20-year-old. But that's supposed to be Cage when he's a kid, when he's a 20-year-old, you know? And he's just remembering that, but now he's in his 50s or whatever, how old Nicolas Cage is. This movie came out last year. And he's driving to work, and he's a family man, and he sits in an office and pretty much falls asleep all day. So, okay, the setup is really cool. It's got this weird soundtrack, right? So you know you're watching like an art house movie. You ever seen It Follows? That movie, It Follows? Now, that is a horror movie that some people like, some people don't. I absolutely love it. It scared the living shit out of me, but what I did love was the camera work and the soundtrack. And I'm not talking about, you know, like the music it might play in the back, like the songs it might play in the background. I'm talking about the overall sound of the film, you know, the soundtrack. And this movie has the same thing. It's like, it goes from like creepy new age, like weird, strange sounds to like classic horror movie dun 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 kind of music, you know what I mean? And it's a trip, and it's really cool, and it comes at the right times, and the soundtrack is fucking spot on as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so I'm loving the setup, I'm loving the characters. You know something's going to happen. The Chinese housekeeper, we're pretty sure she's already killed her daughter, right? And stashed her away somewhere. And the editing is great. So it cuts, then it cuts back, and you think this is happening, but you're pretty sure that's some violence, but it's not giving too much away. But then all of a sudden we cut to the girl at high school, the teenage girl at high school, and there's a whole bunch of parents, like 50, 60 parents, waiting outside the school, like calling their parents over, but there's this big news flash, you know what I mean? So like, all the teachers have seen it. Parents are killing their children. Do not let your children go home from school with their parents. And so there's policemen there, there's all sorts of helicopters, all sorts of stuff going on. But this little kid is like, he wants to see his mum, and his mum's behind the fence, and she's like, come on, like, come home with me, like, come on, son, like, it's okay. The little fella runs over there, and she drags him over the fence and stabs him to death in the throat with her keys. And then all hell breaks loose, and parents are just chasing their kids, tackling them, smashing their faces in. And then I lost interest, right? I really did. I lost interest right there. I was like, man, the music was perfect, the setup was perfect. This carnage just came across, and you know, I love my B grade stuff, but it came across nearly too B grade. And I was thinking, if the rest of the movie's like this, I don't think I'm going to be as interested. But then it changes up, and we have one of our main characters, Selma Blair, going to the hospital because her sister is giving birth for the first time. Now, this is where I've done this movie in two parts. I had to turn this off the other day. My girlfriend is pregnant, okay? And it's her first, it's my third. And she was sitting there, and I was telling her the premise of the movie while I was watching it and having a great time, as this woman gets taken into the delivery room to give birth. And she looked at me and just went, and I understand. So I'm like, okay, no. This is going to end badly. This will end poorly. So I turned it off, and I waited. And then yesterday I had shit to do, so I didn't do it. Now today, this morning, first thing I did was get up and watch Mum and Dad and take the rest of my notes. And it starts off in the delivery room. Now, fuck. This bit is horrible. Okay, I've taken notes on this bit. Oh my God. Yeah, so I made a good call turning it off, and it was nearly too much for me, right? It really was. It was like, oh my God, you know, there's a mother, there's a scalpel, there's, you know, people trying to hold her back while she's going after a newborn, and it's like, hold on, I'm gonna spoil this. The baby lives. Because some of you might not want to watch the movie because of that. I nearly didn't, but baby lives, thank God. They restrain the mother who's just given birth, thank God. But it was nearly too much for me. And then the television keeps coming on and showing static. Now, this movie, I like science fiction movies, science fiction horror that do not explain what the cause of things is. So every now and then you see the TV turn from just a normal TV show to static. And it'll zoom in on the static as if the static is what's doing it. As if, and then there's even like this news show where some guy's talking about if terrorists wanted to fuck with us, this would be a great way to do it, you know. Release some toxin in the air so that parents would kill their children, and that would wipe out our future. They wouldn't have to go to war with us, and that makes sense. But you know, like, I don't think I needed that. The movie was good enough on its own. It was doing its own thing. I didn't need even 3% of an explanation. The no explanation was good enough for me. The Chinese housekeeper is a crack up. At the start of the movie, there is a joke about the Viet Cong, and Selma Blair is very insensitive. And she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry," to the housekeeper. And the housekeeper's like, "I am Chinese. Chinese is not Charlie." And that cracked me up. Right? Because in the end, the Chinese housekeeper is a murderer. And she's just like, "Why is everybody crazy today?" with a mop covered in blood. And she cracks me right up. Like, I got a good out loud laugh with the Chinese housekeeper. And then, okay, so here we go. So now Cage is at work, so the kids are doing this, whatever. Alright, so what I'm not going to do is smash all of these notes, because I don't think it's worthy. I think there's some of it. I think, like I said before, at the school, I thought it was going to be crap with all that violence and all the parents chasing their kids around, but then it changes up, and we get our main characters back, the teenage daughter, the son, Nicolas Cage, and Selma Blair. And then eventually it's Cage, right? So Cage starts stealing this movie, and he starts ranting about fucking how the kids have wrecked his life, and he's smashing his basement up, and he's singing the Hokey Pokey. Now, I don't know, do you guys remember a period in the 2000, let's say the 2010s to the 2017s, when Nicolas Cage made a whole bunch of movies, and he wasn't our Cage. He was this boring, monotone shit. You ever seen The Sorcerer's Apprentice? You might have been wowed by the whimsy and all that bullshit. I hated that fucking movie. Cage was just half asleep doing them roles. He was bored. Now, the last 2-3 years, we've had The Color Out of Space, we've had Mandy, and we've got Mum and Dad, where we get Nicolas Cage going off his rocker, screaming, laughing, crying, smashing shit up, and doing what we love Nicolas Cage for in the beginning, what no other actor can do but Nicolas Cage. And this movie is no exception. This movie gets Cage doing that, what you want him to do. So here we go. And so like I said, so compared to his monotone acting, Now Selma Blair is great too. She's the last one to go nuts. So you think maybe she's not going to want to kill her kids. Maybe she loves her kids so much she's not going to do it. No. Eventually, Selma Blair, with a power tool, trying to cut through the door to get to her children hiding in the basement. Hectic. And she's just makeup tears rolling down her face. And she wants them dead. She's very scary. Great casting. Selma Blair kills it. Oh, that's right. Oh, God. In the pregnant scene, when the mother is trying to kill her newborn baby, the song, "It Must Have Been Love, But It's Over Now," by Roxette is playing. Oh, my God. And, it all slows down while they're trying to stop the mother who's just given birth from murdering her fucking infant fucking child with a scalpel, and that song by Roxette is playing. It's like, okay, you get what kind of movie we're watching. Very art house. It's trying to kick you in the junk with this. Psychotic episodes, music. Now, every now and then you get some cool punk rock music, right? You get Reagan Youth, singing some wicked old school punk stuff. Super cool. And then there's a bit where, the kids are hiding in the basement, and the kid's, feeling around at the door, listening to see if her mum or dad are still there. And then Selma Blair, she's on the other side, and she just smashes a butcher knife through the door. And it just reminds me of Child's Play 1. Remember Child's Play 1 when the mum from Seventh Heaven is sitting there trying to hold the door shut against Chucky, and Chucky's just smashing the butcher knife through? It's very Child's Play 1-esque. What's cool is the sister and the brother hate each other. At the start, now they have to work together. The kids stole the gun out of Nicolas Cage's bedroom. So now they do have, some defense down in the basement. Because they're hiding from Nicolas Cage and Selma Blair, who is just trying to murder them with meat hammers, power saws, gas from the stove, all sorts of stuff. Now there's a scene with matches where they actually put the matches at the bottom of the door and sticky tape them to them, so that when Nicolas Cage opens the door, it blows all the gas up. All the built up gas when they're trying to gas out the children. Now it made me wonder if they'd seen The Hills Have Eyes. Or the daughter had seen The Hills Have Eyes, not the director. It's in this new age kind of thing. The daughter might have caught that from a movie. How else would she just think of it? Because we don't actually see her booby trap the door. It's done. It blows Cage fucking miles away. It doesn't kill him. Now, I thought that was cool. And then, Selma Blair trying to commit child murder with a meat hammer. This movie gave me the opportunity to say that sentence. Selma Blair trying to commit child murder with a meat hammer. And you know what? She does it so well. And so the girlfriend has a boyfriend, and he's nearly got killed by his dad, and he's helping them now. And he cops it so bad. Nicolas Cage smashes his face in. He gets meat hammered. He falls off the stairs. He gets beat to shit, right, trying to protect them. But I think it's cool because Selma Blair's trying to kill the daughter again, and he just walks up and just smacks her with a shovel. And it's like, you know what? About time he got his own back. I think so. And there's a great scene where Cage is chasing the kids. He's just been burnt, he's just been bashed, but he's not giving up. He's got Fruit Loops and blood stuck to the side of his face. And he's chasing them with a battery-operated power saw while he's singing something. Anyway, now the whole time, this movie, I didn't think about this, right? This movie's called Mum and Dad, isn't it? So the parents are trying to kill the children, right? What about the parents of the parents? The grandparents, right? So I completely forgot about that. They're just about to kill the kids, and then you hear ding dong, and Selma Blair looks at Nicolas Cage and says, "Oh my God, tonight was the night with your parents." And he's like, "Oh fuck, really? That was tonight?" Okay, just hang on a second. Puts the power saw down, opens the door. His mum pepper sprays him, and his dad, played by the great Lance Henriksen, starts shanking him with like a not a butcher knife, a Bowie knife, you know, like one of them really fat old school knives. And just stabbing shit out of him around. Now, I want to read off these notes, because this is the bit I liked. I never thought I'd see a film with Nick Cage trying to kill a child whilst an old Lance Henriksen tries to stab Cage to death. Now, that's amazing. They're all running through the house. You've got Lance Henriksen chasing Nicolas Cage, chasing a kid. It's fucking mental. And the mother-in-law's trying to kill Selma Blair, screaming that she's a whore and that Kendall's not even a real name. Now, that's some humour. So you've got some carnage. The whole thing is humorous. But every now and then you get some really good laugh-out-loud moments. You really do. Like, you've got to check this film out. You really do. Okay, so I stopped taking notes in the last 20 minutes. Right? So I'm not going to tell you how it ends. I'm not. I've left you with Cage getting chased around by Henriksen. Needless to say, the last 20 minutes is a spectacular, blood-soaked mayhem ending. It leaves you just saying, wow. You know what I mean? You have a great, great time with it. So in conclusion, this is a definite art house horror cinematic classic. It's an achievement for modern times, and I really had a great time with it. Whoever did the music should be proud, because it's spot on. Whenever you need that sound, it's there. Whenever you need that sound, it's there. Whenever you need it to cut away and do its own thing, it does it. The writing and directing is spotless. The editor needs a fucking award for best editing. What I didn't do with this movie was critique it that much, right? So like I said, I probably could have turned this off 20 minutes in, not when the pregnant scene happened. I turned that off for my spouse's benefit, but for the bit where it's at high school and you just see all the parents trying to kill the kids. Now that bit, it started boring me. I'm like, you know what? I've seen not so much movies like that, but it nearly lost me. I was like, I don't want to just see people killing people. I need something. It needs to be character-based. It needs to make me give a shit. It needs to make me care. And it goes shitty for, I reckon, about 7 or 8 minutes at the high school, and then you're back on track. You start having fun again, and you have fun from there until the very last. And so my recommendation is watch this movie, and not to mention, literally the last 10 seconds leaves it wide open. So you're waiting for you're waiting for the event to finish, you're waiting for this or that. It's like, you just get this big Nicolas Cage moment, and then it's like, written and directed by Brian Taylor. It's like, okay, cool. Like, I thought I had a bit to go, but I was happy with that. I was happy with that ending. It's like, you know what? A movie that bizarre needed that kind of a bizarre ending. Otherwise, it would have just been too cliche. So, I'm going to leave it at that, because I had a great time watching this movie, and I had a great time talking to you all. And I'm going to let you know what I'm going to do next week, because I'm like 20 pages from finishing Stephen King's The Green Mile. Now, I read this as a kid. I read this when it was a serial novel when it first came out. And now I'm reading it in the paperback, where it's like all in one piece. What I'm going to do is a book to film. I'm going to watch the movie for the billionth time, even though I saw that at the cinema too. I'm going to do a book to film. I'm going to do that next week sometime. So stay tuned please take care of one another, read some good books, and watch some great fucking films. And take care. Bye bye.